Well, good Tuesday morning, Southeast Texas. What a cold morning it has been at our Roofing 911 Skycam network up in Jasper, sponsored by Provalis. Mostly sunny skies. A few little cumulus clouds up there. Very interesting. You don't see this very often here in Southeast Texas, especially up in the lakes area. You start getting closer to Rayburn and Toledo Bend. That air is so cold over the warmer waters of the area waterways. You get these stratus clouds forming, low-level cumulus and stratus clouds forming because of that. You just doesn't see that very often here in Southeast Texas. We started out in the teens this morning in the lakes and around 21, 22 along Interstate 10. Now down in Port Arthur, Roofing 911 Skycam Network, sponsored by Market Basket, you started out this morning, well, 20s down there too. Everybody was below freezing all the way down the coastline. Port Arthur got to about 23, I believe. It tied a record at the airport. Over in Orange, our Roofing 911 Skycam Network, sponsored by the Horseman's Western Store. Lots of blue skies, lots of sun, clear for now. And I think we'll see a few high clouds streaming across the region. We've seen those working across parts of the lakes area in east central Texas. But Orange, you got down to 21, just like Beaumont this morning. Just brutally cold. It's just shouldn't happen here. Let's put it that way. It's miserable. Now it's going to be cold again tonight, but not like this morning. We had 21 this morning, maybe some upper 20s to around 30 tonight. Our other camera in Beaumont, sponsored by Packard LaPrade. There's those cirrus clouds there passing west to east, mainly just north of the area, but hopefully we'll still see temperatures getting pretty close to 50 for highs later this afternoon. Certainly some upper 40s. We're running right at 40 now, so we're slowly thawing out across Southeast Texas this afternoon. We see those high clouds in place. And then tomorrow, we start seeing temperatures get into the 50s. How about some mid 50s tomorrow? We'll take it. We'll take 8 to 10 degrees higher each day. In fact, we'll be in the low 60s coming up by Thursday before another strong cold front moves into the region. But at least there'll be no precipitation with that. All right, our Roofing 911 Skycam Network outside our 12 studios, sponsored by Mid-County Plumbing. There's these high-level cirrus clouds, 30, 40,000 feet into the atmosphere. So some areas will be partly sunny this afternoon. Some areas will be mostly sunny. As I said, highs should rebound to the upper 40s, close to 50 for highs, and then falling on down tonight into the upper 20s to low 30s. So we'll see how thick these cirrus clouds are tonight. They move out. It's going to be fairly cold, probably some upper 20s again. If the clouds remain over the area and remain pretty thick, we'll see temperatures closer to 31. But it's going to be cold regardless, but just not as brutally cold as what we had this morning. There's some of those cumulus clouds over the lake. Amazing. Didn't see that very often here. It's kind of like a lake effect snow. Those clouds developing like that over the lake. 34 still in Jasper. Still cold up there. It's above freezing though. 39, Beaumont and Orange, 40 at the airport. So we're slowly warming up. There won't be much wind today either. So with plenty of sun, very little wind, we should reach at least the upper 40s for highs this afternoon. 41 over at Houston Hobby, 40 at Intercontinental, still 36. Cold over in Conroe as well as Lake Charles. You're coming in at 36 degrees at the present time. There's some of those high cirrus clouds we showed you on our lakes area camera. They're zipping across west to east across the region this morning. Notice the arrows here, kind of hard to see because the winds are so light. Very light southerly wind returning. That's what we like to see. Now the winds tomorrow will be light, but out of the north as a weak front comes in tomorrow, but you're not going to notice any difference tomorrow. In fact, it's going to be warmer tomorrow afternoon than what we're seeing today. Temperatures across the rest of the state, just above freezing. In Lufkin, they're only at 33, 34 Shreveport. So most areas are at least above freezing now. So with a little bit of ice left over in northeast Texas, northern Louisiana, that will begin to finally completely be melted today. But it's cold along Interstate 35, that's for sure. 35 Dallas, 37 San Antonio, yeah, it's cold. 40 at Houston, still freezing at 32 Wichita Falls, as well as Little Rock, even West Texas cold, 39 in El Paso. So there was just no escaping this Arctic air that worked in over the past few days. Over in Jackson, it's 35 and a cold 37 off to our east in Mobile, Alabama. But the deep south will be rebounding over the next few days before we see some more Arctic air arriving coming up by Friday. And that's not going to last real long. It'll start warming up early next week, by the way, across the deep south. The rest of the lower 48, boy, it was cold this morning. That's why I showed this map several times this morning. It's a bitterly cold temperatures, well below zero earlier. Bismarck, North Dakota, 3 above. Minneapolis, see those dark, deep color purples there. That is just frigid cold. 58 out in Phoenix, 46. That's chilly for Las Vegas. 24 Kansas City, 27 Memphis. And look at the teens in the Northeast. 18 Boston, 20 New York City, 10 Buffalo. So you get the idea. Very cold air across the east central portions of the U.S. Not many areas in the U.S., as you can see, escaping this Arctic cold. Just not many at all. Los Angeles even cool at 60. And even in South Florida, temperatures were in the low 50s way down there. That's pretty chilly for them. Around 50 around Miami and Key West earlier this morning. You know, it was pretty cold. All right, temperatures across the rest of the area, as we said, will be slowly warming up throughout the afternoon. Now, we are running 10 degrees warmer than we were this time yesterday, about 7 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago up in Jasper. So we're heading in the right direction. We've turned the corner. It just takes a little bit of time. This air mass was so cold, it's just going to take a few days to get us back to where we want to be, and then it hits again, unfortunately, over the weekend. In the Houston area, you're running about 12 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago. As we said, we'll be in the upper 40s, close to 50 this afternoon, upper 20s tonight, well into the 50s tomorrow. Looking about 56, 57 for a high for your Wednesday. And we should be in the low 60s. Low 60s. That's going to be nice. Thursday is the day this week. If you get outdoors, not have to work or do anything, Thursday is the best day coming up temperature-wise, because then it starts turning cold again with highs only around 50 coming up for Friday. All right, futurecast, we're now into the 40s. Should top out very close to 50, especially in the triangle, probably staying in the 40s this afternoon in the lakes, but still a little bit better than yesterday. Tonight, of course, these numbers here are too warm. You're looking at mid to upper 20s tonight in the lakes, upper 20s to low 30s along Interstate 10. Notice those high clouds moved out of here. If that's the case with light winds tonight, I could see a lot of 20s still scattered tonight, mid to upper, not lower like we saw this morning with those teens up in the lakes area. You notice tomorrow, mid 50s. I'm thinking mid to upper 50s tomorrow. Looks pretty good. And then, as we said, lower 60s coming up by Thursday. That will be nice. All right, I like these temperatures a lot better. You wake up tomorrow morning, mid to upper 20s lakes, about 28, 29, maybe 30 along I-10, 30 in Port Arthur. I don't think anyone escapes the freeze tonight either. Now, tomorrow night, yes. Maybe right along the beach, Galveston around 40, 41. Maybe Houston, you may escape the freeze. Boy, you were well below freezing this morning too. Notice Conroe, Huntsville, mid-20s. So bottom line is another cold night tonight, although just not as frigid as what we had this morning. All right, marine forecast. We'll have southeast winds pretty light, 5 to 10 knots, and a seas only around a foot. Right now at Texas Point, winds are east-southeast at 8. Not much gust there. Water temperatures taking a little tumble as expected at 57 in the Gulf. And the next high tide will be at 6:53 this evening. Low tide at 2:54 tomorrow morning. That's a look at your marine forecast. And for the lakes and triangle, becoming partly cloudy this afternoon. Pretty nice. Not much wind out there. Mid-40s lakes, we'll say upper 40s along Interstate 10. Some areas could top out around 50. And notice the winds, pretty light here. Pretty light winds coming up the rest of the day. That's good news. Light tonight too. Scattered frost again tonight. Temperatures dropping to the mid to upper 20s in the lakes. Upper 20s, maybe close to 30 along I-10. And there could be a little bit of patchy fog in the morning as well. Very patchy And if that develops, it could develop into some freezing fog in some isolated spots. We've seen that before too. Wouldn't shock me if we see a little bit of that in some, especially the urban areas, just isolated little pockets of that coming up for tomorrow morning. All right, 7-day forecast. 48 this afternoon, 28 tonight, 55 tomorrow. Still plenty of sun, lots of sun Thursday. Thursday's the day. That's going to be the nice day, up to 60 for a high. Then more Arctic air comes in, another front late Thursday. So upper 30s Friday morning, high of only 50 with partly sunny skies, but no rain with this system. Don't have to worry about any threat of ice or frozen precipitations. That's the good news. But notice over the weekend, down to 25 Saturday morning, high of 42, 22 again. Sunday morning, probably some upper teens in the lakes, only 48 Sunday. And then finally, now I know next Monday morning looks cold at 29. Beyond that, next week looks like we'll turn the corner for several days. Back closer to normal. Lows will be in the 40s, highs will be in the 60s next week. So we're slowly getting there. Like I said, we've got to get through tonight. Pretty cold tonight, then it slowly starts warming up for a couple days, and then we get it again. Once again, those lows tonight in the mid to upper 20s to around 30 in the triangle coming up for tomorrow morning. And Futurecast showed that as well. But the good news is we're already running 10 degrees warmer than we were 24 hours ago, so that's good. And of course, that cold air sitting off to the Midwest and portions of the Northeast as well. In fact, nationwide, as we showed you, it was cold this morning. Looking at some more sky cams across the area, our roofing 911 sky cam network here in Beaumont, sponsored by Packard and Prey. Cirrus clouds working across the area. Well, I think, as we said, plenty of sun to get us up close to 50 for highs later this afternoon, certainly upper 40s. Remember yesterday, of course, we got above freezing in the triangle. Lake stayed at or a little bit below freezing yesterday for highs. Here in the triangle, we got up to about 36 to about 38. That was it. So should be 10 degrees or close to that warmer this afternoon than what we saw yesterday. A very nice afternoon, still pretty chilly. In the lakes area, you're above freezing finally. Boy, it's just hard getting out of the 30s up there. In fact, mid-40s, maybe pushing it for the lakes this afternoon, maybe lower to middle 40s, especially those high clouds streaking in right into the lakes here. That'll help keep temperatures down there. And temperatures, as we said, the triangle, upper 40s here near 50. Lakes, probably just lower to mid-40s coming up for this afternoon. And it's slowly warming up. Most areas now are above freezing across the state except for Midland, Lubbock, and Amarillo. You're still below freezing, but you'll get a little bit above freezing coming up later this afternoon. New Orleans, a chilly 40 degrees there. And said, any plans on traveling over the next few days? Of course, the bitter cold air will remain, especially in the central northern plains, Great Lakes, Midwest, Northeast. Then we see another surge coming down into the area, as we said, late Thursday night into Friday across the deep south and the Gulf Coast states. Pretty cold coming up once again. And of course, warmer than we were this time yesterday, some 10 to 12 degrees warmer. And off to our east, not as warm, but still, even over in Lake Charles, some 4 degrees warmer than yesterday. So, and of course, Futurecast doing a pretty good job. We're in the 40s right now. There's those high clouds streaking in.